Welcome to our iBert gathering. This evening is a little different from our usual format because we're featuring all of our members as they participate in a discussion about their practices. The focus is the topic, how have your skills, approaches, and understanding of the process of doing past life regressions over the years evolved? So we're happy to share this with you and enjoy our discussion.
I want to piggyback on Diane because I trained with Carol Bowman also, and something happened in one of the training sessions that has really changed the way I work. So, and the first person that I trained with also did energy work. He calls it a manahuna, a feminine form of Reiki. So I've always been used energy work in combination with regression work. But so fast forward to 2016, and I'm in the training with Carol Bowman. So I get to be the subject in one of the practicums. And lo and behold, we go very deep. I'm having a conversation now with my masters. That's the only thing I know how to call them, because I don't see them. I feel their energy. I know they're very high energy, so I just call them the masters. And the funniest thing happened was that they called me out and they said, why do you separate your mediumship from your regression therapy? You know you do it together. And they actually showed me incidences where when I'm doing mediumship reading, I'm seeing the past lives. When I'm doing my regression work, I'm actually traveling with the client. That was the funniest thing in the whole world. And like I said, it changed how I operate. I knew that I could no longer separate them out. It was something I did, and then I realized, you know what, that makes my work a little unique. And so I do both. I still do readings. I have the forte with past lives that many mediums know nothing about. And some of the things that come out of mediums' mouths about past lives just floors me. And then, like I say, when I'm taking someone through a journey, kind of like Diane, at first I thought it was my intuition guiding me, but then I realized, no, it's a person's souls that is guiding me. I've developed a relationship with my client's soul right from the get-go, and then it starts showing me where we're going to be heading. And so that's one aspect of where my work has grown. The other aspect, and actually, I started training in regression therapy mainly to heal myself. That has been so awesome. And then at a certain point after I was healing myself, I was told, now you've got to help others. You can't just sit back on your laurels. You've got to go out and help others too. So after keeping it to myself for a while and working on clearing myself, then I knew it was time for me to help others. And then and you probably experienced this too, but I feel like it needs to be said. When I help others, I get rewarded so much more than the monetary reward. I get such a deeper connection with my own soul and the guidance that I've been given, so much so that I've written 2 books. Should I wait to tell about those or go ahead?
Go ahead.
So the one book, the reason why it's important is that through this work that I've been doing, the payback was that I got to find my father's very small village in China. through these souls guiding me there, thanking me for what I was doing for them here, you know, in the physical. And they guided me to this small village. So the first book is Conversations with the Hungry Ghost, Memoir of a Reluctant Medium. And in that I tell about my trauma that I went through with my father, which was the reason why I was doing the work, the regression work to heal myself. And then the conversations with him on the other side, and how healing goes on the other side, not just with past lives, but with many people. And then last year, I published Unstuck in Time, Memoir of a Time Traveler. And so it includes 8 stories of my past lives, and one of them is my ancestor. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Thank you, Carol.
What was your first book?
Conversations with the Hungry Ghost, Memoir of a Reluctant Medium.
Couldn't you make it shorter?
No.
Conversations with a Hungry Ghost.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
That sounds like a really interesting story to share.
Really?
Carol, would you be interested in participating in one of our spiritual book clubs with your book?
I would love it. In fact, I often do conversations of the ebook free, so I could do that prior to the book club.
Great, thank you.
We'll
Carol.
talk.
Get in touch with me. We'll talk, or I'll send you an email. Yes. Well, that'd be great. Thank you.
Who's next?
I'll be next.
Well, Leila's got her hand
I'll be
up.
brave. I'll
Leila's
be
got her
brave.
hand up, Dorothy, and then you can go, okay?
Oh, okay.
Okay? Okay, Leila.
Hi, everyone. Pleasure to virtually meet you. I'm very new to the industry. I'm one of the Georgina's students. And I'm so glad that I made it today to learn from you, your wisdom, your experience. I'm super excited to be here. At first, I thought, oh my God, is that a mistake? But then I thought, you know what? I've been guided by universe to attend this meeting, and I'm super grateful for that. I'm a Reiki master teacher. I've been teaching Reiki for a while now, and I'm a medium. So I highly resonate what Carol was saying, and I've been practicing past life regression only for 6 months, so I'm very new. I've done so far maybe 30, 35 regression sessions, and what I've noticed is that, and thank you, Greg, I also resonate with your story as well, and yeah, what you've been saying. I highly believe that it's happening on a higher self and a soul level of the facilitator and the client. And also similar to Carol, and obviously she has more experience than me, and I'm going to be learning more from her, and I'm going to buy the book and read the book. I'm noticing that I am traveling with the client and I'm seeing what they are seeing. Even before they see it, I know where they are. And that is fascinating. So I'm very happy that I've been guided to do past life regression. I've studied hypnosis with Georgina and past life regression and life between lives regression as well. And I'm here to learn. That's my very first meeting with all of you, and I'm looking forward to learn from you more.
Yeah, welcome. Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
sure.
Okay,
Good.
Dorothy, thank you for your patience, Dorothy.
Mm.
Okay, Dorothy.
Okay. I don't know how often this is done, but a lot of people are coming to therapy for physical issues. And that's not necessarily past life regression either. But we wind up doing a past life regression. And I've done past life regressions with people who didn't even want to believe in past lives. Didn't think it was real. So how many, I don't know of anyone else who's doing a lot of medical work. So maybe I'm on the cutting edge, I don't know. I've had things like mitral valve prolapse, lupus. I recently got a client who has an inflamed nerve in the leg, the nerve that goes from the heart down to the feet. So in processing what's going on in their life now and processing if there's a past life connection, the problem gets solved. Even though they weren't necessarily willing to do a past life regression, that's what came out. I had one guy who had the mitral valve prolapse, didn't believe in past life regression, had no problem getting him to go into a regression just by saying, giving the instruction, go back to the first time that the heart had a problem.
Mhm.
And it was in a past life in Canada. And he had been shot in the heart when he was a Canadian Mountie police. Back in, when they had mounted police. And so I'm wondering if anybody else is getting more people that think hypnosis can help physical issues as well as the emotional piece. I'm asking that question just out of curiosity because I can't be the only one.
I brought healing to myself of an eye disease that was diagnosed at 18 as chronic and incurable. It kept me out of Vietnam, which was good, and then progressed through cataracts and glaucoma and so forth, and finally decided I better own responsibility for it, and did 2 regressions, and where I discovered the lives where the eye disease was created, and one was in a town in Germany in the 1200s where I was the mayor, and you'll pardon my French, I was a real asshole and arrogant and did not care about anybody. And the people in the town, who were all poor and peasants, were starving to death in the freezing winter. And I refused to do anything to help. So they put me in stocks in the town square, and gouged my eyes out and killed me. And that was how the disease was created. I brought healing to that whole thing and the relationships with them. And a month later, I got a message that the eye disease had disappeared, and it had. Medically, it was gone.
That's amazing.
True story.
True story. Well, that's basically what I'm seeing. And I just wondered if anybody else was doing that kind of medical work, or if clients even coming because they think hypnosis can help. Not that they expect a cure, but they just want to be out of some of the pain. And then they find out that it can be, quote, fixed. So
Yeah.
then we go for the whole enchilada. And talking about angelic helpers, Greg, I use them all the time. One of the ones that most recent was, would you believe, Einstein?
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's quite a character. And he chides me when when I don't get something right away, he chides me about it. And I'm thinking, well, you're on the other side and you can see everything. I can only see so much. So anyway, that's been interesting. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Dorothy. I want to welcome Eric and Kathy and show you guys, this is the topic we're focusing on right now. We're having a group discussion, so you can see what it is. And if you'd like to participate, you'll know what we're talking about today as a group.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
So who else would like to share? Michael? Get your mic.
There, get it unmuted, that's all right. Although I think sometimes people like it better when I mute things, and then they can go into their own head rather than otherwise that. Well, I'm up here in the woods in New Hampshire, and it is going to be well below freezing tonight, so I'm vested up for it, ready to go. And I got involved back, I actually got hired to play piano for a stage hypnotist. And that's the closest to getting hypnotized I ever got, was getting ready for the thing. And looking back at it, he was using subliminal concepts to try to put me under. And the room started to spin, and I said, wait a minute here. And I pulled myself out, and a psychologist at the school at the time where I was teaching he had studied hypnosis in college. So he loaned me his books, and I self-taught. And for probably 10 years, I just practiced and played with the kids on the back of the bus to going on trips, which you wouldn't dare do now. But at that time, that was kind of fun. And it was when I got involved with the Guild and was going through my certification, I ran into Edgar Cayce. And Cayce really still resonates a lot with me. I knew a woman that had readings done by him. And also she was a descendant of William James, who of course was the head of the American and British Psychical Research Association, which is summer home, is only 5 miles from where we are. So there's a lot of energy bouncing around in the woods. So my involvement in past lives, kind of like, I think we all live our past lives. I think we mostly agree with that. Feelings and thoughts that have affected me my whole life, but not really being able to put a finger on what was happening. But now it does make sense as to where I might have picked up some of my not pleasant with heights, or not necessarily wanting to be buried alive. So those are little things that have come through that have given me indications of my own self. And anyways, what I've found, my whole techniques have evolved completely differently. I agree. I took the doctoral program with AIH, which of course is not there anymore, which was wonderful and very intense on past lives. And Roger Walger's work is one of the ones that really influenced me. But I've learned through neurolinguistics and through many other things that really my whole approach to hypnosis is a lot different than it used to be. I don't attempt to necessarily create a deep trance, because people live in trances all the time. So if I find out how they can enter a trance, the key words, the suggestions help that. I use past lives with clients that don't even know they're doing a past life. If I find they've got a block in something, I'll go, well, let's imagine a story here. Can you put this into a context of imagining a story? And all of a sudden, with the questioning and finding out how they think, they're bouncing back, and some of them don't even remember the conversation afterwards. My philosophy on, did you have a question, thought?
No.
Okay. Anyway, so now what I look at in past lives, they influence us today. My goal, if there's a blockage back there, is to take them back before the blockage and sneak up on it on the other side from a happy place. And therefore, when we find it, then we go back otherwise, so that now I want to know their last thought in that lifetime. What was it that they carried with them that may affect them in their life now as they go forward? Then we want to go back and reunite the person in a positive situation before the trauma set in, and bring it forward to them to where they are now, so that they have that sense. And sometimes it's like bringing the little child from the past back to where they are, showing them life again, so that they're both living and discovering, their past life and their life together is doing it at the same time. Now, one of my most interesting cases, which did wind up in a book called Mystery of the Dream House, was years ago. I had a friend that was really out there. She was hard of hearing, and she spent most of her childhood living in her mind. And so she told us about a dream she'd had where she was standing outside an old stone house. So I jokingly said, I'll put you inside of your dream. So we did 15 sessions. She was fascinated. The house was empty. It was an old stone house with a round room, and all it was there was an old-fashioned rocking horse and a doll. So we went back a little psychic dowsing. We took her back in time. Well, before that, she started talking about this little girl that played with her. Yes, 1 minute. Okay, this is going to be double fast. So anyways, the long story of the whole thing is we found out that her best friend as a kid was a ghost. She played with a ghost. The stone house, she's located in England where she grew up. And actually it's playing out now because what she had seen identifying in the early 1800s and identifying leads in the map, they've rediscovered by doing the houses. They found the old facades with exactly what was happening. And one thing, when we found out how the little girl died, that night she woke her husband up singing a song in French. She doesn't speak French. So that spooked him out a little bit. Come to find out that she was probably the mother of the little girl in the past life. Anyway, it's just a fun thing. It was there. So that's about it.
Thanks, Michael.
You're welcome.
Somebody else. Kiki, you had your hand up a minute ago. And Kathy, you want to go?
Sure. Well, I'm one of those people who had some past life flashes from when I was young and needed to process those and certainly came to believe in reincarnation very young. I was an English teacher for a while, and I had a student who wrote a paper on Casey, so that introduced me to Casey, and I was off and running with that because it was that wonderful blend of Christian and reincarnation that really worked for me. And I did what I could with self-regression, but I needed more than that. And I connected to Roger Wolger, and that was very, very helpful to me. Doing all the sessions, I see Peter. Hello, Peter. I did some exchange sessions with Peter because we only live 100 miles apart, or 80 miles, whatever it is. And that really helped me work through, but not completely, issues. And I didn't find anybody here to really work through it with more. And I had other stuff going on in my life. But about 10 years ago, I said I really need to continue to work through many regressions that I had, but had pieces not all worked through. And so my way to do that, I had spirit things happen that I felt called to write. So I wrote an account of the past lives because they feed each other in a theme. And so I wrote a book I published a couple of years ago, A Labyrinth of Lifetimes, One Soul's Journey Through Many Reincarnations. And it was a lot just to write it and put it out. I'm not a marketer by nature, and I couldn't do marketing because I'd written a book before, but whatever. Anyway, so I've been sitting with what to do with that and wanting to do a small group that we would work together, but that it didn't seem feasible with COVID, because I wanted to do it in person. So now I have come across a book by Amoroso based on Casey and Wolger's work, and he has a CD of exercises to do. And I have a few different Zoom meetings I'm on, and one happens to have a lot of ladies who are already very psychic, and they said, we'll do it with you. So I'm looking forward to doing a Zoom group where I'm a therapist by trade, just regular therapist, but I always hesitated to do any kind of thing on Zoom because it's harder to track people than it is in person, especially a group. But these ladies, I figure, hey, they're already well developed. I won't feel any of that responsibility. I mean, I can be there as a resource, but I don't have to check on people. So I'm just realizing that I think this year my practice will take a different turn. And I mean, through this whole COVID time, I get calls all the time just for regular therapy because people are overwhelmed and they can't find a therapist. And I have a long waiting list. Everybody I know does. And so it seemed right that I should just keep working that way. But now I'm going to transition to doing more. It isn't just past life, but deep psychological work. We all know that it winds up overlapping with, ancestor cleansing and connecting to people who've been in this on the earth for millennia and millennia, but they're mixed hybrids. They're not all of the earth, and all the good topics you've been talking about. So, as well as, of course, the entities that need help and come because you can help them. So I'm looking forward to, it's going to be a new year with a new focus that way. I knew all along, I said, well, it's not the right time. I have to wait till the signs tell me it's the right time. So now it does feel more like that.
Thank you. Yes, Peter.
All right. In the early 90s, I've always been interested in hypnosis, and finally in the early 90s began exploring it further by going to the National Guild of Hypnotists annual convention in New York City. And the first speaker there, I'm not even a hypnotist yet, was Edith Fiore talking about spirit releasement. Oh my God, what is that woman talking about? I was amazed. So as a result of the meeting, I eventually got certified in hypnotherapy, and then discovered Roger Woolger and went and took classes from him. And then set myself up as a past life regression therapist. I was led then to Michael Newton, Life Between Lives, so became certified there as well. And as the years went by, realized through the Guild, National Guild, and their spiritual hypnosis activities, that was especially of interest to me. So for me, as Diane and Greg mentioned, I found that my practice has slowly evolved to, right up front, taking the client into hypnosis and connecting them with their heart and their higher self, and asking the heart and higher self to lead the session, because I know everything there is to know about the client from this life and past lives. And I've been amazed at how much wisdom there is there, because through them, we then invite Archangel Michael to join us, the spirit guide for the client, perhaps, the grandmother from the client, Kuan Yin shows up. But through this process, they lead the session. I'm holding the space and trusting my intuition. The client is channeling all of this information, and we're being taken back to the cause or source to resolve these issues, whether it's this life or a past life. I'm quite honestly amazed at how successful this can be in 1 2-hour session. So that's helped me to increase my own belief in the resources available to us, and how eager those are on the other side to come through the client, through me, through working together in partnership with them to quickly resolve these issues, whatever they may be. And then towards the end of the session, I help the client, invite the client to select a sanctuary they can go to in their imagination and reconnect with their inner wisdom team, heart, higher self, Archangel Michael, Kuan Yin, grandmother, whatever, whoever showed up to help us, and then provide them with materials and a guided visualization so they can continue and do this on their own on a regular basis or whenever they choose. So the practice has evolved quite a bit, from Edith Fiore right up front to the other teachers I've had. And thanks to Greg and others, I've gotten quite involved with spirit releasement as well. So thank you for the opportunity to share this.
Thank you.
I wanted to say I really enjoy, I'm not quite finished, but I'm very much enjoying your book, Greg. It adds to what I've already known to do.
Is that
Thank
the
you
new
for saying that.
regression? Is that book the new regression therapy, Greg?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
The new
Um,
regression.
I'll go. I'm sorry to be late. I just ended a session. And boy, you know, sometimes these sessions go, hey, this was a 3-hour session. I mean, when you have a first-time client that's has never done hypnosis before, has barely meditated before, and then doesn't know what it's about, and you just have to spend a lot of time explaining it. And then it was, you know, a long regression, and just to be able to connect him and to connect him in, it takes a while sometimes. So anyway, it's nice to see Holly again, and Dorothy. It's been 14 years, and Diane. I haven't seen anyone since the iArt days, and I'm Eric, and I started in 2000 at my first iArt conference. I had written my master's thesis called "Exploring the Effectiveness of Past Life Regression." And I did that in 1999 or 2000, before I'd ever done any past life regression. And then I went to iArt, and then I went through all the 4 levels trainings, and I learned so much there. And I was hoping to see Janet Cunningham, because she was the 3rd level trainer. And but along the way, I met Hans ten Dam and Marion Boone. I was very much impacted and affected in a positive way by their teaching. So I draw upon their teachings a lot as well. And I combine that with Joe Costa's teachings, Jeffrey Ryan's, and a lot of these holds. So I've been, and then I got training with Michael Newton in 2004. And I think most of the people that come to me, they're interested in past life regression, and they find me through the Newton Institute. And right now I'm booked out about 3 months. But what I find that I know I'm in the Twin Cities area. There's hardly anyone in the Twin Cities area that's, well, there are a handful of people, but I don't know, they find me. I think I told my guides and angels, I just said, send me the people that are ripe and ready for me. And I would say, you know, half the people, well, I'd say half the people that I come, you know, I more do like a present life healing session. And I use a lot of the techniques of Hans ten Dam, and I do where it's more about connecting them first to doing a guided journey up into the light of source energy, melting into that, connecting to that higher part of them, and then be above a timeline of this life and doing some releasing of the traumas in this life, getting back a part of their own light and beaming it down to where they needed to be, you know, where they needed that. But gosh, when I'm not doing that, I'm doing a lot of past life regressions, and it's gosh, it's fun to be with all, you know, it's fun to be with all of you. I haven't, you know, I kind of miss these conferences, that the iArt conferences that, you know, for me, it was like a big family. And I guess it's been a long time for that. So it's good to see a lot of you again.
Thank you, Eric. I'm so happy you're here.
Yeah. It's nice. Where is Janet Cunningham still around?
She just retired from the president, and I got set with the new president. So she's retired. She's on her own.
Okay.
Having a vacation from all this for a while.
Uh-huh.
Being with family, grandkids. I can help you get in touch with her if you want.
Oh, sure.
Virginia, you want to share? No?
I'm not sure I have a lot to add. I'll set my own timer though. Hang on. Kind of resonated with a lot of what people were saying. I also did my training and got certified in 2000. I trained with Henry Bolduc and iArt, and worked quite a bit with Thelma Friedman, just as a mentor and as a friend. And I kind of went with the structure that I'd been given initially, and I evolved as I got more confident. But the thing that I've noticed in the past, I want to say the past 5 or 6 years, there's 2 trends that I've noticed that, guided by what clients are asking for or needing, That's where we go. And one of them is more spirituality and more spiritual work. More and more of the clients are asking I want to go see my guides. I want to talk to my guides. I want to find out who my angels are. Michael comes in a lot with that. He comes in a lot. He likes to butt in a lot. And, but also the other one that's becoming more and more of a trend is people who either ask to go to or are taken to previous lives from other dimensions or other non-human. And that's where we go, because that's what they look for. And it's very different from what I did in the beginning, because there is no real structure anymore. There's just, we start at our initial safe place, and then wherever they need to go, wherever their higher mind needs them to go, that's what they do. And I don't really have that much of a clue initially. So I can't have a script. We just gotta go where they want and need to go. And most of it's, I want to say more than 80%, 75, 80%, spiritual journeys, more than past life, and or into other dimensions and other non-human lifetimes. I find that fascinating. It's almost, I feel like when I first started, and some of the work stuff that I'd read about at the beginning, there wasn't a whole lot of time initially spent in the interim, the afterlife. And in the early days, it was more about the lifetimes, and that so many times they would say, well, there's just this grayness, and then you start another lifetime. And now we're going more and more into the spiritual work and the afterlife. And now more and more clients are asking to do that. So the evolution, I think, is almost like a reflection of our human society, or at least in this country, that they want to know more about those things, and they're more open-minded about those things. And there are more and more books written about near-death experiences, about the life between life work, about all those things. So I think more and more people have been made aware that these are things to be explored, I think, than 30 years ago, 20 years ago. And certainly when I first started, it was only a beginning kind of conversation people were having. And now it is the primary conversations we're having, so with clients. So that, for me, that's, if I look at how I've evolved my work, it's mostly in that direction. So.
Can I add one thing to that? May I?
So I had my first experience doing a past life regression in 1981. I was the subject in my hypnotherapy training with Frida Morris, and she was teaching affect bridge as a past life regression technique.
Yeah.
So that's my beginning. And when I look at my own evolution as a person and my evolution of my practice, I realize they're the same. I think as I was able to grow and expand, that my tools began to grow and expand, and my clients began to grow and expand in the same way. And I think of, I've been doing this long enough now that I see the evolution of consciousness going on as so connected to this work. And the clients that I used to do group regressions with, maybe like 10 people in a group, maybe 5 people would have an experience. Now everybody can have an experience, because that quantum field has been so honed and affected by all of us doing all the sessions we've been doing, on all the people over the planet doing this work. So it's just more available. And for me, it was also very similar to what you were talking about, Virginia, of in the early days, it was doing past life reports. You guys remember Helen Wambach?
Yeah.
Okay, well, she's in the Bay Area where I am, and she was doing her research when I was just starting to study this. And one of the people that Dr. Morris trained at HCH, incidentally, she was my mentor, and I bought her school 10 years after that. But one of her students, who was one of the presidents of iArt, Chet Snow, was working with her after she had her heart attack because she wasn't doing very well, and he ended up posthumously doing her book on progressive hypnosis, Mass Dreams of the Future. And I got to be a subject for that book. Went to see her in Berkeley and had an experience with her, which opened me and expanded me to doing future life work, which I love doing with people. to help them deal with their problems here and now. You do a future life to see how the future can inform you now, so you can collapse time and do it all here now. And then I got into spirit releasement with Bill Baldwin, and he came to teach at my school for a while. And then I did work with energy work, which is really where it's evolved. And most recently, I'm so excited that Peter Smith is going to come, because I've gotten into this whole concept of really invoking the quantum field when I do the work, to invoke it in the space. And I've been experimenting with that and having really, really wonderful experiences with that, not only with regression work, but with issues like, what school do I go to? Well, let's take you forward on different timelines to see the 5 different schools you're considering and see where you go with each one, so you can look now and see which is going to support your evolution and the way you want to move. So the quantum work has been really fascinating to me as well. But never a dull moment. You guys feel that way about this work?
Oh, yeah. Right.
Never a dull moment. It's always on the edge of something new, and I love it. Okay, so I think we all got to share. We can just open it up for comments. If anybody wants to kind of piggyback on anybody's sharing. Yeah, Michael?
Yeah, I just want to mention that what seems to have happened now is the whole world has hit a tipping point at the same time. One of the reasons that they're having problems filling jobs are that people are beginning to examine their heart, how they feel about what they're doing, and consequently they're leaving what they were doing and looking for something that provides them some sort of a sense of doing something that contributes. I've gotten involved in it's called the Happiness Project, which is open to anyone. It's in actually out of Bulgaria. The guy is a doctor psychologist who happened to have had broken, severely injured his leg and foot at the same time COVID was going really rampant over there. So most of the people where he was in the hospital were all dying. And so he committed himself at that time to doing something that was positive. And so that's what I look for, is just that positive thing. And I think what Virginia was mentioning was, and the people that are opening to the spiritual stuff, a lot of this comes from that heart-based caring. You can wake up now. I'm done.
Yes, Carol.
I just wanted to say, I have had a quantum conscious experience journey. A friend of mine is a quantum conscious practitioner, and I read Peter's book before I had the experience. What I realized, and I think probably some of you have had this too, that I was already having those experiences, but the actual procedure for quantum consciousness experience is, because Peter was president at Newton, he kind of follows some of that same regimen that Newton does. So you go through all of these different levels, you know, it's a step-by-step thing. It's very long, but very fascinating experience. So I can't wait for that talk. That's going to be really fun. And you know, one thing I forgot to mention, how our practices have changed. We're doing it right now. This being able to be on Zoom and, you know, not have to wait for the conferences, you know, from iArt or anyone else, that we can share in real time like this with all of us all over the United States, and sometimes it's the world. Isn't that marvelous? I resisted doing that in the beginning of the COVID, but I tell you, it pushed me until I got the hang of it. And I'm really glad it did. And I think Holly, in fact, because of it, in 2020, I finally got to take the training with Holly that I've been wanting to do for since 2002. So I think that's a real plus. And then I just want to say one more thing, and I'll pass it on. I am now being guided to do a reincarnation symposium. This year will be my 3rd year to do it. It's growing each year. The first year we had to do it on Zoom, of course, but this past year we did it in person and on Zoom. Worked out great. So I'm putting a call out to you guys because I'm looking for speakers to talk about their experiences, especially over the many years, you know, kind of the evolution of reincarnation research, and also people who will do workshops. So I'll send the information, how you can contact me in the chat. But if anyone's interested or knows someone who has a really fascinating story, Carol Bowman and Chase, her son, are going to be part of it. Patricia Walsh, who many of you know, is going to be part of it. So it's going to be so much fun.
Send that information to Virginia for the newsletter.
Yes.
Okay,
so that
I definitely will.
Our whole organization can.
When is it taking place?
I'm going to send that to you right now.
Okay.
October, end of October. We had to move it last year to, it was supposed to be the first weekend of October, but because of COVID stuff, we had to move it to the end of October. So it was Halloween weekend. We loved that so much that we decided that's our date.
The veil is thinnest.
That's great.
Anybody else? Okay, how about announcements? Does anybody have any announcements you want to make? Upcoming events? Carol, you got one other?
Yeah, I forgot to, I'll have to, February, I'll have to look up the exact date. In February, I also do a lot of metaphysical things. So in February, I'm doing a class which is to use a metaphysical style of numerology to understand what your soul's purpose is and how your soul is guiding you to manifest that purpose. It's really cool. I've been studying numerology for years, but I've been studying Pythagorean numerology. This type of numerology comes more from the Tao. And it is fascinating. I wish I had done it years ago because I would have been way ahead of the schedule rather than, you know, dragging my heels, but better late than never, right?
Where do we
Again,
get that
send that
information?
information. and I'll
Us?
put it in the newsletter.
Yep, I
Okay.
will send that.
Great.
Carol, is that a class or a workshop?
Yeah, it's a class. It's a 2-hour class. It's on Thursday, and for the life of me, I can't think of the date, but I'll look it up and I'll put it in the chat.
Thank you.
Any other announcements?
Yeah, I have one. This is probably not anything of use to most of us here, but I'm going to be doing a professional level training in hypnosis and past life regression starting the first weekend in February. I'm an alliance trainer through the Newton Institute, so a lot of it is helping people who want to do the LBL training. This is all the preliminaries, prerequisites they need. But if you know anybody who wants to explore, who wants to get involved in the way cool stuff that we get to do, I've got this training program. It's all Zoom. It's all on remotely done, starting first weekend in February. Well, we're going to get started. So get in touch with me if you know anyone who wants to know more about this.
We have a free Reiki clinic every week on Tuesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific time. So if you know anybody who wants to receive Reiki or give Reiki, you do not have to be a Reiki practitioner to participate. And the first Wednesday of every month at 7 p.m., we have an online past life regression meetup. It's been going on for about 7 years, and there's quite a following. That's $30 if anybody's interested in doing that. And then I'm doing a advanced training in past life and spirit releasement. And February 4th is when the past life one starts. It's from 3 in the afternoon till 6 in the evening Pacific time for 4 weeks. And then the spirit releasement one is the same format, the first weekend, the first Friday of April, same time frame for 4 weeks. And those I think will probably be in it.
Sorry, would that be on your website or
Yes.
where can I find more your website?
I'll put a chat for my website for you so you can check it out. It's all there.
Oh, you know what I think we need to do for the newsletter? I think we need to have a new section, which is just community board.
Announcements, yeah.
Our
board.
community, what do they call it when they used to put stuff up on cork boards in school hallways? Community board, just community.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
great idea.
And people send me these things and we'll post them. We'll put them on the newsletter with the basic information and contact information, and it'll go out there. I love this. This is great. Let's keep doing this.
Mhm.
We'll put that before the board in February, Holly.
Okay. Anything else anybody wants to share or announce?
We were asking people for input about, right now we're kind of focusing on our gatherings on Thursdays. We've got the spiritual book club, we've got the workshop. Well, the workshops are going to kind of vary a little bit more, but Wednesdays versus Thursdays, weekends versus weekdays. We need some feedback. You can email it to us or speak up now. What works best for you guys in terms of the going forward with our future events?
I really like it that the forums I can listen to in between. I register, but I never get her because then other stuff is going on. But I do, you know,
Are you
I
watching
do
the
watch the
videos?
downloads.
Are you
Yes.
Do
watching?
you like the fact that it's that you can look on it the next day or when you
Yes,
when you have
yes,
time?
when I can get to it. Right.
Okay.
Yeah, we've
That's
got our
what I
own YouTube channel for those of you that don't know. And after we've got it ready, posted, we will email you to let you know what the link is to watch it.
Let's put that announcement in the newsletter too, Holly, to remind
Okay.
people.
Okay.
So let us know if there's any adjustments, any changes, and we'll see what we can do.
So was it Wednesday or Thursday? Can we just kick out some hands now?
All
to
right.
see
Yeah, new
which
hands,
day is better?
Thursday,
Thursday.
even though I don't
Thursday.
get here.
Hmm,
Wednesday?
I like Wednesday.
I'm sorry, Eric.
Okay.
In the quantum field.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're a little bit outnumbered there.
So
Okay.
Yes, so.
next month's
Um,
gathering is going to be this format as well. We thought we wanted to have a chance to have a little more in-depth conversation about how you as a spirit being human have evolved by just doing this work. How has this worked you as a person? So this will be more personal. It'll be an opportunity for people to share a little bit more deeply about themselves. And please come. This has been so rich and so wonderful today. So happy to be able to share on this level.
It's great, so great.
Yeah,
Thank you.
thanks.
everyone.
I think
Yeah.
we're all craving community so deeply that we can be
Mhm.
so open and vulnerable and transparent with all this work that we're doing.
Great.
Yeah, and as Eric said, we used to come together in conferences when iArt was going. And,
Mhm,
you know,
yeah.
there has been a real void since those stopped.
Really have.
Yes, that's
You know,
right.
Carol Bowman and I lamented that many times, you know, how rich it was to be able to participate in that
We have
and
a
connect
little-
with
Meet
people.
people in person and make that personal connection with everybody.
Yeah,
That-
it really
that
is
helps
important.
the community feeling.
Well, we
There
kind of
was
have
a-
a virtual ashram now for past life regression therapists online, so we can expand on it hopefully.
Yeah, it really is nice just to share our experiences and connect with the faces and names and,
Mhm.
you know, not quite as good as in person, but you don't have the jet lag either if you go from East Coast to West Coast. So,
Or the
Cheaper,
cost of the
too.
hotel. the-
you know, there's pluses and minuses, right?
Mhm,
Mhm.
Does everybody feel complete? Anybody more?
Yes,
Yes.
thank you so much.
Thank
This
you.
was wonderful,
Thank you
Holly.
so much for
Organizing
coming.
this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
Thank you
This is
so
great.
much.
Yeah.